Brad, when you reviewed last week's game, what did you take out of it in terms of real positives?
It was actually a pretty taxing game, to be honest. I think, the Gold Coast are a very young side, but they were obviously very fatigued at the end of it. But our guys worked really hard without getting great reward on the scoreboard, particularly in the second and third quarter. But our competitive spirit was there and our effort was there. We just need to. It's probably a common theme for us. We just need to polish a few things up and get a bit more efficient in front of goal.
A few people during the week sort of said it doesn't look like North Melbourne's playing with a lot of sort of energy and verve at the moment. Is that a fair call?
Oh, well, I suppose I can't really comment as to their opinion. I mean, I know our effort's there. There's only been one game in the past 2 years where I've questioned that. So, quite often when you're playing a really efficient style of footy, you're using the ball really well and you're scoring heavily, you look really energetic. So the reality is the game we play and the competition we exist in, there's a very fine line. So, we've had 2 games this year where we've literally lost one game with a kick after the siren and one on the siren. So, we know what a fine line it is, and I think when we start to pick up our efficiency, we'll tend to look a bit better, I think.
Is it that consistency of effort, though, and efficiency that needs to be more in the game? You say the effort and efficiency are there. Is it more the consistency that maybe is troubling?
No, the effort's consistent. It's probably of my 50 odd games, it's only once I've ever questioned that. So I think the effort's consistent, but certainly the performance is not consistent. So, but that is consistent with a young side. So our senior players have carried the load, and our younger players we firmly believe are on the right track. But to match it with the elite sides of the competition, and Adelaide are certainly proving themselves to be one of those. We definitely have to be more consistent with our performance.
Just on that point you made, is it a good thing or a bad thing that sort of Brent Harvey and Drew Peach were your 2 most significant contributors last week?
Oh, look, no doubt we'd like to spread the load, but you look to your best players to play that way. So, and any club would say that. I mean, you look at any club across the competition, the most experienced, decorated players are usually your best, and we think we've got a really good crop of emerging young players. But we think with Andrew Swallow, Jack Zeeble, they're carrying a fair load as well. So it's not just the senior players, and the young players are certainly starting to pick up. But to get that really good effort against sides like Adelaide, we've got to improve in that area, no doubt.
How much better do you have to be this week if you're going to match it with the Crows?
Oh, it's difficult to tell, doesn't it? I mean, you look at the areas they're very, very good at, and they're the number 1 side in the competition for contested possession, number 1 side for clearances. So, with the types of players we've got, we think we aspire to be really good in those areas too. And probably save for 1 or 2 games this year, we've been on top in the clearances and on top in the contested ball situation. So, we think we can really take it up to them in that area. And if we beat them in that area, then we'll give ourselves a chance. But that's where it begins for us.
You've got some experienced key position players. I mean, you talk about the pressure on your younger blokes. That's going to be most intense in the middle of the field, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. I mean, Patrick Dangerfield and Scott Thompson have shown their elevation to the elite category is cemented. I think they've been absolutely fantastic this year, and the emergence of Rory Sloane and the players like Van Berlo and Vince will come back in, and Riley and Douglas. They've got a long list of really consistent players in there. So, but that's what we've been building over the last 2.5 years. So, we think that if, we can at least go some way to matching them in there, then that'll lessen the reliance on our defenders to take care of Tippett and Walker and Callanan and Paul Pleasure and these sorts of guys. So it's going to be a great midfield battle, I think.
You mentioned the development, Brad, of some of those younger Adelaide guys. Have you been happy with the development of your kids this year?
Oh, well, I think Sean Atley's been, a revelation off half-back for us this year, and, we've always rated him really highly. But he's been fantastic for us. Kieran Harper's been, a good player without sort of, breaking through to the level where, he's a really consistent AFL player just at this point. But, I think that, you look at the midfield and we're still quite young, but the players in the mid-range, Scotty Thompson, Nathan Grimer have had, pretty consistent seasons after Grimer had an injury interrupted season. But, Ferrito, Grimer, Thompson have been good for us. But no doubt that, we're like any emerging side. We're looking for our young players to take the next step, and that's an evolving process.
You went pretty short in the back line last week with the Delaney brothers going out. With Tippett and Walker this week, is there a chance that you'll bring one of those guys back in?
Yeah, Tippett's a really unique player because he's you don't get too many genuine ruck size key forwards who play there on a semi-permanent basis. So he takes the ball at full stretch and he really launches himself at the ball. So he's a unique player, and we've got to look really closely at that matchup because, as you said, we left out two key size defenders last week. So that's certainly an area of the ground that we've got to have a really close look at because Adelaide are number one and contest the ball, contest the possession. So if they keep that form up, then our defenders are going to be in for a torrid time.
Saw St Kilda last week managed to score pretty comfortably against Adelaide at times. Did you take a bit out of that?
Not really. I think that was later in the game. They really, 40 odd points down. I think they really had to take a chance. And St Kilda are a really capable side when they do that. And they've got really good line breaking players. So, I think that was harder to do earlier in the game. But as the game sort of St Kilda took a pretty, an attitude of just we've got nothing to lose, then it opened up. So I think that Adelaide will probably tighten up in those areas, and they've only lost 2 games for the year, so it hasn't happened to them too often.
You're still reasonably confident this side can be a final side come end of the season?
It hasn't really answered my thinking, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people talk about it. We as a club are really excited about the path we're on. We're really confident in the path we're on. So from that, people have extrapolated that to mean that we expect to play finals. We expect to play footy that may give us a chance to get there. Now, clearly at the moment, we're not playing at finals level intensity or footy that is worthy of playing finals. So that's our focus. We've got, 11 odd games to go in the home and away season. So if we play footy that's good enough, I'm sure we'll get there. But if we don't, we certainly won't.
Brad, is there a message to supporters at all? Twilight game this weekend, crowds the last 3 games I think have averaged less than 20,000 for North Melbourne home games. What would be the message to fans to get along?
No, look, it's an extraordinary issue. I think we play interstate sides at Etihad, and we get comparable crowds to a lot of other sides that play interstate teams at the MCG. So, I've got no doubt we'll have our 18 to 20,000 people at Etihad, and we've got our hardcore rusted on North Melbourne supporters that will stick with us through good times and through bad times. And I think any North Melbourne supporter who's watched our side over the last 2.5 years should have enormous hope. I think they do have that hope. So, we've got to continue to show them that we're on the right path, and regardless of what happens, characteristic of North Melbourne people is they stick.
Just going back to your previous point, as you said, you finished 9th the last couple of years, so people naturally assume finals this year, and the fact that you're not quite there at the moment, people assume that the pressure's starting to build. Are you sort of feeling that?
No, we're really confident. We've just got to focus on the facts at hand, and look, there's no doubt there are some things that we'd like to be better at right at the moment, but it is an evolving process, and one thing, we're unwavering in the fact that we believe we're on the right path. So, there's pressure on everyone in competitive AFL footy every day. So, that pressure comes whether you're winning or losing, and, we've just got to stick, stay the course and stick on the path that we set 2.5 years ago, and we're on that path, and we're really confident. And people's opinions outside that are just that, they're their opinions.
So that path's still tracking as you expected, or has it just sort of slowed down a little bit this year with the first half of the year that you've had?
No, I think the game against Geelong proved that at our best we're a very capable side. What we've got to do is smooth out the difference between our best and worst, and that's a bit of a common theme at these press conferences over the last month. So that's still our focus. If we were sitting here saying, geez, at our best we're still an ordinary side, then we'd have something to worry about. But we know at our best we're capable. We've just got to set about producing that on a more regular basis.
Brad, 4 of your 5 wins so far have been against bottom 4 teams. How important in the run home is it for you to claim a few more bigger scalps?
Well, we've got a pretty tough month ahead, so we play a lot of sides that are above us on the ladder. So that's a great position to be in because we're sitting 12th or so at the moment, and with a win-loss record of 5 wins, 6 losses. So we'd like to square that ledger and get on the positive side of the win-loss ledger, but playing sides above us gives us a chance to take points away from them as well and push up into the the higher reaches of the ladder. So, you know, regardless of the big scalp or all that sort of stuff, we just got to win games, and we play good sides. So if we win them, we'll hopefully prove ourselves to be one.
What about Lockie Hansen? I mean, he's had probably a lot of things go wrong for him this year with injury and then the suspension. How far away is he from getting back into the team?
No, he was very close before getting suspended in the VFL. It was, you know, a lot of coaches and football people have talked about the frustrations at the second tier level this year, and you know, getting suspended at the second tier level and then having buys, and you know, Lockie was suspended for 2 weeks, which turned into 3 because of a bye, and you know, really frustrating for him and for us. But you know, on the positive note, he was right on the cusp of being selected back then. Played really well last week, so he'll come into calculations this week.